if you got a girl, don't mean no disrespect, but thoughts of you rule my world. I even dream of you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Happy Hour Talks. My name is Ruth.
And I'm China.
In today's episode, we're going to discuss all things education system, especially in the United States.
Yes. Okay, so talking about the education system, I was just thinking about my experience in the education system growing up in the inner cities and more of the urban environment. I think that my experience was good. I do think I was a teacher's pet. I did feel supported by my teachers, considering the situations that I was in. One thing about teachers is they're playing many roles, right? They're teachers, they're counselors, they're acting like moms and, nurses and, there are so many hats, right? So I think that thinking about today, as far as how the education system is shifting, I'm feeling like there's a lot less support for the teachers. And I feel like teachers are starting to push back. They're like, you know what? If your kid doesn't care, I don't care either. I am here to get my check and dip, period. Talk to me a little bit about what you might have went through in the education system and then, what today you're kind of seeing the trends you're seeing.
Thank you. So, for me, I grew up in the public school education system throughout all the way until completing my bachelor's. And luckily, I was fortunate to live in a kind of decent area where like our public school was pretty good. We had a technical school attached to my actual school, and that's where I fell in love with computer science and coding and engineering overall. But I understand that some people did not have the same opportunities to have like a decent public funding education. Um, Speaking on public education, though, I believe that within the past like 10 years or so, it's gone down. I've seen students fighting their teachers online. Again, teachers saying like they don't, if the kids do not want to perform well, it's on them and the parents. And it's just pretty unfortunate because I believe education can take you far, and kids not caring about doing well or succeeding in school can really hold them back and impact the rest of their lives. So,
For sure. I can only imagine how that feels, especially thinking about our friends in college who were education majors, they're teachers now, being in your first year as a teacher and just realizing, like, oh, this isn't going to work, these students are out of hand. The administration does not give a damn. Like, this is not a system that I can survive in. You're seeing so many teachers return to corporate America or pivot into this industry or that industry because it's just not sustainable long term. Even when it comes to like, I think about like mental health resources for teachers, it's still not adequate enough. You're trying to go talk to someone, but if you're still having to return into that hell every day, then it's just not long term sustainable. So what I think about for the future, I just don't see the education system getting any better. It has been on a decline for some time, and I'm just wondering like what's going to be. When is it going to bottom out? What's going to be end game here? I definitely see when it comes to the school week, it going down to maybe more like 3 or 4 days because you're just not going to have the teachers that are willing to teach the whole week. Teachers are tired of having to have 40 people in their class when it's supposed to be 15, because they just don't have the teachers to sustain how many students are there. I think we're going to see some stark changes.
no, for sure. And I think we're going to notice change improve if only we start respecting teachers. And number one, that comes with like the salary they receive. I remember back in undergrad, I had a roommate, she was studying education and I was studying engineering. And when we would study together in the library, we would hear little sly comments like, oh, like education majors, like their homework is just to color or create, like just rude, like they were making rude comments about the assignments education students were having compared to other disciplines in college. And it's like, without the teachers, we don't have the doctors, the lawyers, this, that, and the third. And it's like, it cannot improve unless we respect them, even when they are starting to receive that degree. Because once they graduate, they're going to have the confidence like, okay, like my degree matters. I'm going to get paid decently. And I'm going to impact the lives of children. And now they're not receiving that like level of thinking at all within society. So they're like, what's the point? I'm barely getting paid. The kids are rude. The parents do not respect us. So what is the point?
I mean, I work with someone now that she was like a teacher's assistant, and she got encouraged by like everyone at the school to go ahead and become a teacher. And within her first year or two, she was done. And she was talking to me about how she was so annoyed that she like, even took the energy or, incurred the debt to, sorry, incurred the debt to even go to school when it just ended up not being worth it. I mean, these schools are trying everything, putting out bulletins in the community. If you take this course, you can come be a teacher for us. I mean, I don't even know. Like, they're doing whatever to try to get people to get people in these classrooms, but I just don't see it getting any better. I think that it probably starts with the government, right? Providing better funding, and then trickles down to school administration just being having a better infrastructure for the teachers to actually be able to rely on them. They need to be getting paid adequately. There need to be better books and technology to try to keep the students engaged. But of course, I haven't brought up another very important part of the equation, which would be the parents. The parents are not reinforcing the children at home, starting when they're kids. I remember when I was growing up, I had a LeapPad, but are there any type of like learning educational systems are doing? Are you doing flashcards? Are you taking the time to sit with your child and go over their homework? A lot of people throw shade. They'll be like, oh, kids can do TikTok dances, but they can't recite their ABCs. And it's like, but wait a minute, it's kind of true though. This gets into another conversation. It kind of speaks to maybe just like the art of parenting in general and how it's shifting. I don't want to say that I think that parents aren't interested in their children. It's just that I think they have so many other things to be worried about just to stay afloat, to where they literally cannot invest in their children educationally, other than making sure they get to school or have the things that they need for school. But not having that reinforcement at home is starting to eat these kids up. The reading levels are slipping. They're going to grades and they cannot read at a proper reading level, grade level. It's just so many. There's just so many. I feel like the children are being let down. Students are being let down, but it's supposed to be a team effort, and there's so many like fall throughs and like letdowns that it's just not happening.
No, for sure. And we're probably going to talk about this point later on in another episode. But I feel like money, like financial situations, plays a huge role in this. So you were talking about how some parents are not spending time with the children and, teaching them how to read or write. But it's like some parents have to go work a night shift or work in a factory. So they don't get the time to spend with the kids. So they're just hoping that somehow the teachers take on that kind of responsibility and able to provide the education that they need, compared to someone who's in private school, has private tutors because their parents can afford it. And their parents can afford being at home, watching them, looking at the report cards, making sure things are like correct. So it's just like society in general punishes people who don't have much compared to the people who have more. And we're going to talk about that in another episode, but I feel like that also plays a huge role into this whole debacle.
And it's like, what a huge trickle down effect or like cycle does that continue? It continues to increase wage gaps and, income disparities, because the children that have the money for tutors or the money to pay people to do their homework, they're going to continue to go up and get opportunities that maybe they don't deserve, or maybe, they wouldn't get if they didn't have the parents that they did. And it's all because they can pay to play. We're only going to continue to see that chasm grow and grow and grow. Eventually, though, there's going to be some type of like uprising or something. There's got to be some type of like strike back, because it's a problem.
And this goes back to the affirmative action debate we always hear over and over. But standardized testing, right? The ACT, SAT. Some parents can afford their children to have ACT prep classes, SAT prep classes. They do well on the exam, they can get scholarships, compared to some people who do not have those educational resources or the background, but they somehow make it to college because they have good grades and they work hard. And then it's like people want to talk about their situation and say they do not deserve it. But personally, I just think like it's all the same. We're on the same level, like we're all using the same resources that we have to get to where we need to get to.
For sure. And that was something interesting you brought up. I guess I did have access to ACT help. I took an ACT boot camp, but it was specifically for minorities and like low income represented individuals. And this was when I was living in the city and not in more of a rural area. They had it in the rural area, but I do think you had to pay a little something for it. So, it just continues to increase. If you don't have access to these resources, then it's up for you. And it's unfortunate because I feel like I'm starting to hear less people talk about going to college, for example. When I think of some of the high schoolers that I know, less people are talking about going to college. And I don't think that that's a horrible thing. Maybe they're going to do a trade. Maybe they've already been working a job that they decide they're going to work up in. That's fine. But, the response to that from the workforce has to be they're going to have to start lowering the requirements on, needing a bachelor's degree, needing a master's. Now, I haven't seen that yet, I think that might be a good thing for that to happen, but that's what we're gonna see. So everything is it's just like a chain effect. Everything just affects everything. I don't even know.
No, for sure. And we're not seeing the benefits of okay, let me rephrase this. People are seeing influencers making $3 million a year without any college background, right? So it's like, what's the point of me going to school for like 4+ years and then making average minimum wage when I could be an influencer and getting paid a lot? So maybe that's why we're not hearing a lot of kids say they want to go to college, because at times college might not be the most lucrative way to make money. And now kids want to be millionaires right after they turn 18. So
that's true. And, part of me is like, oh, well, maybe some people, young people, are being inspired at early ages to become entrepreneurs and create their own flow of income, stream of income. That's not a bad thing. But I think that for the most part, most of society cannot be influencers. That's really going to be a small margin. There still needs to be skilled people and educated people that have taken the time to go and get the degree. It's just tiers, right? That's why we have classes, and they don't always correspond to what we're making. But that, like, it's just not going to end well, I don't think. When I think about this 5 years from now, like, I don't have good thoughts.
And it's scary because education is very, very political. Like, I was watching Hidden Figures, y'all should go watch it. And it was talking about like the space war between like the United States and I believe Russia, like who can go and land on the moon first. And we don't have that right now. Like, the space war was basically like whoever was able to like make it on the moon first, they were deemed as like the smartest country, the country that was thriving and innovative. But right now, it's like we're not really doing anything. I could be wrong, but it's like, is this hurting us politically? Are people seeing the United States as less weak because we can barely read or write? Like, this has to be a greater problem than just making money at this point.
For sure. And I do feel like a general consensus or maybe a stereotype about Americans is that we are stupid. We're big and stupid, but sometimes it's like, but what are the things in society that are reinforcing this? What are we doing to stop it or curb it? We just don't have the infrastructure that we act like we don't really have. Or if we do have it, it's not benefiting us. So, yeah. What do you see down the road, say 5 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, education system? What do you think that looks like?
Unless we start respecting teachers, paying them more, it's going to go downhill. If we're not paying them at least like a livable wage or livable salary, we're not going to have enough people working in the fields that we need to have. And again, this is like my biggest concern. Like, how will this affect the United States globally and politically? Like, are we going to be less vulnerable to just stuff from other nations and stuff? Like, that's what I do not want to happen. But if we continue this path, that might be what may happen. And that's freaking scary. And I barely hear people talking about it. So
That's real. So 5 years from now, I see, like I said, school days are already being shortened. School weeks are already being shortened. So I definitely see us going down to 3 or 4 day school weeks. 20 years from now, I see parents having like a government, like something imposed on them that they have to show proof that they are actually teaching the child at home. And it might just be like a sign slip, right? But the government's going to push back and say, hey, parents are going to need to do more, which they do. But it's like we live in a system where they can't afford to. They don't got the time. It's just not even affordable to have children. That's why the birth rate keeps declining. It's as low as it's ever been because it's not affordable. And 50 years from now, I do see AI being implemented. Does that look like robotic teachers? Does that look like homework assignments maybe being, just not a lot of input on the teacher's part because they're already overworked, depending on AI to, push out a lot more of the content and the things that they need so that they don't have to.
Very great point. Like, maybe teachers can utilize AI to help them, like AI to help grade or AI to help teach something, but you were mentioning about possibly going to 3 to 4 day week for students. I don't think we can afford that in general. Like China or like the Asian countries, they go to school and then they come back home and then they go to another after school program. It's like other countries are like serious. We need to get to that point.
We do, but we ain't got it. It's like with climate change or with like the what's called the budget deficit. We just keep spending what we ain't got. We're at the end of the barrel. I don't see us bouncing back from this.
And do you know what's shady? Before this episode, I was trying to do research to see where the United States is ranked. They didn't have any solid concrete answer. Like, of course, the United States sites were like, we're number one. But then when I would look at other like country sites, it was like United States is 34 or 13. And I'm just like, what is the actual like ranking,
They keep trying to flub the numbers because they're ashamed, but they're not doing anything to like fix the shame. So
yeah.
What can you do? Anywho, I've always loved learning. I really would love to see a shift. I just don't have much faith in America's ability to really like flip it on its head as it stands today. But who knows what the future holds? Be sure that you all drop your thoughts in the comments. Sound off. Let us know what you're thinking. Do you have children? Are your children of school age? What do you think the future holds for the education system? We definitely would love to know what you're thinking and also any ideas for any future episodes.
Yes, thank you all so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.